This is Rugby Unity. I am David Pembroke and Ewen McKenzie. The word from World Rugby is that Franco Mostert red card has been rescinded. Harry Hockings' red card has been rescinded. Lou De Jager, his appeal has failed. But at the risk of losing tens of thousands of listeners and viewers at the top of the program, I think we do need briefly to go back to the cards. Because I suppose as we head into this weekend, really not a whole lot of confidence that the program is going to change in the way that the game is being refereed.
Yeah, I think we've been talking around this issue for a while now, and I think now we've got some, these reversals, all they do is just betray confidence in the system. So that's where we're at. So now everyone's sort of sceptical. I think it's a good time to have a good look at where it needs to be next year, not by the World Cup. We need to get on with it and make some substantial changes. So, there's been some good ideas floating through. But I think the fundamental principle is we've got to keep 15 on 15 on the field as much as possible. And I just think we're nowhere near that at the moment in Test football. And I think that's got to be the primary objective, is to keep people on the field, or keep the contest 15 on 15. And then we can look at how we arbitrate these decisions, whether they're cynical, foul, or otherwise, or repetition. There are all sorts of things that can be addressed, but some can be addressed off the field, So I think that's where we've got to go and go quickly.
Eddie Jones, for you, as a coach of one of the teams participating this weekend?
Well, I don't know, mate. We had a situation on Saturday where a guy makes a completely legal tackle, and it was proved to be legal. And the funny thing is that he makes the tackle, the ball goes forward, and it's play on. Like, that's the stage we're getting to. So we're more obsessed with trying to maybe be politically right rather than referee the game. And I don't think we should be blaming the referees here. This is a protocol put in place by the World Rugby Council, of which you're probably friends with him. So you should have a chat to them. That's their protocol. I don't know how many of them, the people on the council, are referees or players or coaches. But they're the ones who have made this protocol and put it in place. So I think we should be clear. Let's not blame the referees. The referees are only doing what they're told to do by the protocol put in place by the World Rugby Council, who, is this group of people that, I don't think I've ever seen them or know anyone who's been involved with it, but I'm sure you would, Peppy.
Well, yeah, look, it's a 53-member decision-making body that sits as part of the governance of World Rugby.
Well, there's the problem straight away. Have you ever seen 53 people make a decision? No, I haven't.
Well, I'm sure I'm sure they accept recommendations, but I suppose the point is that really that the governance of the sport in instances like this, it's antiquated, because if the 53-member council, which meets 2 times a year, makes decisions about what is going on in the game, there's no way that the game can move fast enough or can react fast enough to what's happening. And if we do look at other football codes around the world and other sporting codes, they make decisions quickly. In Australia, the National Rugby League, they can make decisions almost overnight. The AFL in Australia, the same. The National Football League in America, the National Basketball Association, they're able to quickly come together and to make decisions. And I think this is a real area that Brett Robinson's going to have to look at, because there needs to be this match commission that we've spoken about before, made up of former eminent persons, but also connected to the coaches, to the referees, such that the game can be supervised in real time. So when we do start to get in these areas where complexity moves into the awarding of red cards and protocols get mixed up and people get permanent red card, that has to be dealt with a lot faster than it's being dealt with at the moment, Ewen McKenzie, and we need to get the governance of the game right.
Well, it'd be a safe bet for 51. Was it 51 or 53 people to? Right, 53. So they're not getting on a Zoom meeting, are they? They're not getting 53 heads on the screen. So they've all got to gather somewhere. So you can guarantee they were all in Chicago a few weeks back, hobnobbing there. So you can imagine, you can just picture it. So 53 faceless people trekking all the way first class to Chicago for a bit of for the biannual catch up, So yeah, look, I think you're right. I mean, they could do that with half a dozen people, someone representing the coaching community, someone representing the refereeing community. Their job's to go out and garner opinion and whatever from the leading coaches, leading referees, etc., and bring it to a table monthly. They should be discussing trends and things like that monthly, at least, I would have thought. So half a dozen people could be representing the various stakeholders, and their job is in between meetings is to go and talk to people in the community, in the respective community, the coaching community, whatever, and get opinions. And I'm sure they'd get a better outcome and make faster decisions if that was the process.
Eddie Jones sounds like a job for Ewen McKenzie. I'd nominate him as the chair of this new commission because I
don't know anyone anymore. I only know Eddie. I don't know any other coaches, only Eddie.
Eddie Jones, in terms of being able to move faster, to be able to adapt, to be able to, because I think you were sharing some statistics over the weekend about the impact of some of this management of the card as having on the actual game itself, game duration, crowds being left having to wait, for moments to be resolved. Where do you sit on a better and faster decision making?
Oh, well, I think Ewan's 100% right. The game we played on the weekend, the ball was in play 41 minutes, which is good. That's a good level of ball in play and quite high. But the disturbing figure is the ball out of play, which is 53 minutes. Right, so there you got 53 minutes. You got people sitting around watching the referee look at himself on the video with his two mates making decisions on things that have happened previously. That's the thing we've got to sort out in the game. We've got to get quicker decision making on the field. We've got to have a flow to the game. We've got to look after the spectators. We've been speaking here about trying to make the game stronger, and that's one of the key things to make the game stronger. So if you're in charge of rugby at the moment, that's one of the things you're thinking about. Yes, we've got to make the game safe for the players, but I think that's been done. And those incidents that we've just spoken about, in all of those, there wasn't any head contact. It was a perception there was head contact. Now we're refereeing on a perception of head contact rather than head contact.
Yeah, certainly in the Harry Hockings incident, the movement of the player's head backwards, at first glance, it did look like there was contact, but there clearly wasn't at any point in time.
So just
go on.
Just on Pemby, just for the listeners. So Eddie, when you're dealing with a Hockings incident, describe how much distraction that is, in terms of resources. You've got to then go and defend or turn up to something or whatever. How much of a distraction is it when you've got to deal with those situations as a coach?
Well, firstly, there's a selection issue. Because we travelled from Wales, we didn't get to Georgia until Monday morning because of the flights, etc., and time. So because of that, we can't train on Monday. It's hard to train on Monday. So we've only got 2 training sessions. Now, we don't know whether Hockings is in until Tuesday night. So we've got that. We've got meetings that we've got to prepare for. One of our coaches, Gary Gold, spent a lot of time with the lawyer going over the clips and whatever. It takes a lot of your resources. The team manager's running around setting up Zooms. I've got the lawyer in New Zealand helping prepare for us. So it is a reasonable distraction. And for the player, it's bloody tough, mate.
Yeah, I recall having to fly from Edinburgh down to London for a hearing with Kuridrani, the centre at the time. And so the player, myself, they get on a plane, fly down there at night, and stay the night and fly back again. That's the level of interruption during the week. You're trying to prepare for a test match. So there's all of that no one sees, but that's a reality of what you've got to do. You've got to get in there and defend your players. But if you've got a case, a reasonable case, you're going to go and defend it. So you've got to do what you can, but you've got to front up. Now, some of that's probably done by Zoom and things like that these days, but it's still the resources and time. People would not understand how much of a distraction it is. It's terrible, and you can't finalise a team, so it's terrible.
All right. Well, listen, I think we might leave it there. And listen, just before coming on air, you two were having a conversation about statistics that have been released. What are those statistics and what are they telling us? And have they in fact been released to the public, Eddie, or are they just available to the coaches and the teams that are participating in the Autumn Nation Series?
Well, firstly, I got them through unofficial channel. So I don't know who's got them. It's one of the advantages of being in the game for a while. You tend to accumulate a lot of friends and probably a lot of enemies. But the friends tend to, give you things they think might be important. Yeah, I'll be interested. Ewan had a look at him, and he's really good on stats. So it'll be interesting to hear Ewan's view first.
Well, yeah. From what statistics are what you make of them, and obviously they've been made into what they need them to be. But basically, it's talking about where the game's gone, and I guess the key thing is that showed up was about the kicking, the employment of the kicking strategy in the game, the volume of kicking as an attacking strategy, and the ability to recover that possession and score tries from it. So all of that's analysed. So you can clearly see that across the year that's been building. So the contested game, and that's probably why teams like South Africa are doing well, because they've been able to employ that as a successful tactic, whereas other teams haven't been able to either employ it from an attacking point of view or be able to defend against it very well. So that's probably one of the key things that shows up, that's actually now a very significant part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
This is test match statistics. I'm not talking about other levels, just test match.
Okay. Was there anything else there that you picked up?
Well, there's pages and pages of stuff, but that was the thing that stood out the most. The rest of it's marginal. There's been ball in play. There's lots of things ball in play time, but it's sort of marginal, incremental changes. But the biggest change was the steepest change was the use of the attacking kicking. As a contested kicking as a strategy.
And so, Eddie Jones, as a coach, looking at those statistics, does it confirm what you already knew to be the case, or is there some insight there that's going to have an impact on the way that you're preparing your Japanese team?
Well, I think, as Ewan said, it's the nuances of the game that changes. What's become far more important now in the game is the aerial contest, and we're getting at least 30 of those a game now. And not when you're able to win that ball, your ability then to move it quickly to space, because there's generally a congregation of players around the ball now in that contest area. You can get 3 from each team, so that's 6 players out of the 30 in a very small area. And it reminds me a bit of an AFL ruck contest now. You've got to have someone up in the contest. You've got 2 people generally up in the contest now, a catcher and a chaser. And then you've got to have the ruck rovers around to pick up the scraps. And then once you've won the scraps, you've got to be able to shift it quickly. And one of the things now, if you're able to shift it quickly, you can get up the field pretty quickly. And then once you're up the field, you're into that, that combat zone, that 22 metres where it's just about, generally speaking, apart from a few little variations to play, a power contest.
Very good.
Ireland scored a beautiful try, I thought, against Australia, where they set up their 3 forwards, and they actually had the third forward was a back, and they just played a little circle ball out the back to the 10 who hit Hansen, who was incredible. Hey, that Hansen. For a club player, he's a club player out of Tuggeranong. It just shows you how players, when they mightn't get recognised in their own country, they go somewhere else and they grow another leg. And he's been, he's turning into a tremendous.
He was playing fullback too. It wasn't like normally he's on the wing. They put him at fullback and he had a sensational game. Just on those statistics, Pemby, there is some discussion around discipline, and I've been banging on about different things that, in terms of the impact of yellow cards. It does say in here that 0.7 tries, 0.7 tries are scored in the 10 minutes after a yellow card. So I would have thought that'd be higher than that, but that's slightly less than one try. It doesn't say who for. I mean, that's where the statistics are a bit erroneous, but I'm assuming that's the opposition. The team that doesn't get the yellow card scores a try. So it says 0.7, so that's almost one. One try occurs after a card. And the rate of cards per match, you're looking at basically 2 to 2.5 cards per match. This is across Test football. So, as a coach, you've now got to. We used to think about that when we were coaching about strategies if someone was in the bin, but it wasn't. It was something you had as a little plan, but it wasn't something you put a lot of time into. But you're almost getting up to 2.5, 3 cards a match. You got to spend a bit of time in your preparation now to be able to cover and think about how you're going to play the game. And I can see that in teams like Argentina and things like that. They changed their whole breakdown approach. If they've got a guy in the bin, they'll play the game differently, which is disappointing. They play a much more defensive. They don't attack the contest at the breakdown anymore. So they're all strategies to keep players on their feet and in the line so that they can offset the person that's off the field. All of that, for me, is disappointing because it's not the game they want to play or what they're good at. It's just a defensive strategy. If we had 15 on 15, the majority of the time you wouldn't have to waste time with that. You could keep playing and trying to play and impose the game that you practice during the week. So...
And is that the case, Eddie Jones? Are you spending more time now than you did, say, 12 months ago planning for yellow cards, anticipating strategies that will be required to combat the yellow cards?
A little bit more, but you set up scenarios at training to practice that because you can't just have a one policy fits all because every game's different. You might, as Ewan said, I think most teams, when they're short in defence, will tend to contest the breakdown less and try to keep numbers on their feet. So I think that's a bit of a universal policy in terms of attack. You've got a policy of either keep playing the way you normally play or become a little bit more tighter in the way you attack to look after the ball. There's those sort of variations you put into your game and you practice that a little bit more, but you can't get too preoccupied with it. Because you might have a game where the referee, doesn't use the teammate because we're likely this weekend, given all that's happened last weekend, this weekend for the referees to put their cards in the pockets and the teammate to have a weekend off, because they don't want to get any heat this weekend. They've had enough heat. They're probably a bit gun shy. What the judiciary don't like to do is to contradict the referee, because now they're looking a bit silly. Right? No one likes to look silly, particularly when you wear leather patches. You don't like to look silly.
All right. Well, listen, let's move on from that and let's get to the rugby and to the football. And Eddie Jones, your team has travelled to Tbilisi for a big match this weekend against Georgia. How has the week been in preparation and what are your expectations for this weekend?
It's great to come to a country like Georgia, fascinating country with a great history, particularly with all the things that are going on in Europe at the moment. There's been a lot of changes in Georgia, big influx of Russian population, Ukraine population have come in. The city's a lot more congested. We had a ride back from training the other night. It usually takes, I think, 17 minutes, took an hour in the traffic.
Wow.
It was just like we had a police escort, and the police escort, he just gave up. He just sat in his car, put the lights on, and took us an hour to get back. So, but Georgia are in a similar situation to us. They're obviously battling for ranking points, so they're just a bit above us in the table, 11th, and we're 13th. And there's probably no more contrasting styles of rugby. Georgia, big, powerful side. We've now added a fullback who can, as good as anyone in World Rugby. In fact, he's beaten more tacklers than any other fullback in World Rugby over the last 12 months. So they've got this ability to counter attack. And it's a good opportunity for us to finish the tour well. We've had a good tour, albeit not with the results we want, but I think we've performed pretty well. But you've got to get the results. A win this week's an important thing for us. But we've had a good preparation. Yeah, no, it's been a good week, mate.
So Ewen, McKenzie, in that situation of playing well, earning great credit. People seeing what Japan are trying to do. How important is it when you are coaching a team to get that result after you have had a number of promising performances?
Well, you obviously want to validate everything you're doing, so that's always wrapped up in the scoreline. It's probably not as simple as that if you're in the team. You can obviously, there's plenty of markers and KPIs you can measure to show that you're improving, but the court of public opinion is always going to be the scoreboard. So, so it'd be great for. I think Japan's got a really good set of tools to be able to play the game. Big forward pack's always hard, and then the way, and we've seen it in recent weeks. The teams are under pressure, like Argentina. They did it. South Africa do it. They've got the ability, if they can get close to the line. They'll just roll up their sleeves and they'll just keep banging away, and they'll either get penalties or they'll get a score. So that's the problem when you're playing a big side like Georgia. They've got that capacity. The fullback Eddie talks about sounds like a good guy to kick the ball to and bury at the bottom of the ruck, because he's not going to do much counter-attacking from the bottom of the ruck. So there's not enough phases in the game for him to get back in it. So I'd be kicking him. I'd be making him catch the ball and burying him. But I think Japan's got a really good tool set. They're good tacklers and good spirit. So I think it'd be nice to see some reward for that in terms of the result.
All right. So listen, before we go to the rest of the games on the weekend, we go to the third voice, as we do each week, to seek your comments and your questions. So a couple of the questions at Tosca Brutus says, Lecker, David, Lecker program Wereens, and the translation is good David, great program again. Stella Ulisi on TikTok says, you are good at your analysis, rugby instincts and intellect. And at Jacques Bison Udenhout says, geez, we're lucky to have so many outstanding experts on almost every rugby podcast. It was unthinkable only 3 years ago to hear directly from the likes of Eddie Jones. And yes, indeed, it is very kind of Eddie Jones to give up his time in a test week to spend with you. Now, some questions. At Wallace Family on the Move on Instagram says, Link, would you be open to stepping in and coaching the Reds so that Kiss can move into his Wallabies role as soon as possible? Link is back in the spotlight in a very positive way, thanks to Rugby Unity, with the press quoting his opinions from the podcast verbatim. There's a real sense of respect for his perspective and wishing for him to return to coaching. Take the hint and jump back in. Ewen McKenzie, Wallace Family on the Move.
Yeah, I think I know the Wallace family. So it's friendly fire. I'm not going to solve any coaching dilemmas, but they've certainly got an interesting situation going on with that, the timing of all that coaching replacements and whatever. So it's all a bit odd. But I guess that there's the primary thing is that there's a financial and contractual issue behind it all. So whether they can get past that, I don't know. But otherwise, it's going to be, I think, July next year, the end of July next year, or something, that Kissy comes on board. So it's odd, but that's the way it's rolling out at the moment.
The next question is from at Kihara. Guys, they're making the game too complicated already. It should be simplified. Remove the option of red cards from the ref. They should only be allowed to dish out yellow cards for deliberate foul play. Do you think, and the question is, do you think the game/rules are too complex? Ewen McKenzie, you go first.
Yes. Of course they are too complex. That's why they don't even referee half the rules on any given week. Half the rules just don't get attended to. So, yes, there's too many. But in terms of the red, look, we're all saying the same things. We need to simplify the foul play and those sorts of skullduggery issues. The problem we've got is that's all interlaced with these other cynical things that I don't think are even cynical. I think some of the things are instinctive and don't even warrant yellow cards. So I think there's a couple of ways we can fix some of those problems. But again, 15 on 15 on the field should be the objective the majority of the time.
And we do have a solution from Tony Charge at Game Changers. And I won't go through it all because it'd take a little bit too much time. But if you jump across to the Rugby Unity Substack, Tony has put forward quite an erudite and thoughtful way of managing the integrity of the game, and we will be sending it on to World Rugby for their consideration. But jump across to the Rugby Unity Substack to have a look at Tony Charge and what his views are. But Eddie Jones, just around that issue of complexity, how would you go about dealing with it? And do you agree that there are too many laws and it is too complex a game at the moment?
Well, I think in essence, yes, but we've got to also be careful we keep the contest in the game. Yeah, I think that's really important. The contest in the game keeps rugby from being a completely different sport to other field sports that we've got. Line-out, scrums, breakdown, now the aerial contests that all add this huge uncertainty about how the game's going to be played, and in that way it keeps the allure of the game high. But, we've spoken about the yellow card, red card. It just needs to be sorted and sorted. That's not complex. That's not complex. They could be easily sorted. Get Peter Volandis in for 30 minutes and he's sorted it out.
Exactly.
Like that's the reality. Yeah. That would happen. Yeah. And they did it in the NRL. We know they had a farcical weekend where, people were being shifted the sin bin. Even the commentators couldn't keep track of them. And within 30 minutes on the Monday morning, they've got it sorted. Next week, nothing happens in that regard. And all we've heard this week is silence.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. It's incredible. Like, it's really incredible when you think about it. You got 53 blokes or people involved in rugby council. We don't hear one piece of comment from the ruling body after we've had a farcical weekend of rugby. I don't think there's anyone in the game last weekend who's got, any bit of knowledge about the game could say that the rugby was enhanced last weekend by the way it was managed.
Well, we did make the comment last week.
You get things like these things can they can produce these documents, and things are obviously happening behind the scenes, but there's never any explanation to the public. I think that's the problem. They might be garnering a lot of information, they might be doing things, but we never know what's going on. And I think that the strategy document we've been talking about for months. And we'll be talking about that. That's a classic example of the problem. Is just a void. There's a void that goes on, even though they probably maybe are doing work. They just don't tell anyone. It's all in a vacuum, and the whole thing's in a vacuum. And so no one knows if things are going to get better.
Yeah. No.
So we're all mushrooms, and they might be doing stuff, but we're basically mushrooms.
Yeah. But
not getting fed. We're hungry mushrooms. But we're not even getting fed.
Yeah. But I totally agree that really it's unacceptable. And that there needs to be, whether it's the chairman, Brett Robinson, whether it's the CEO, Alan Gilpin, or whether it's the head of the referees, but they've got to get out in front of this and they've got to pay the respect to rugby fans around the world to let them know what's going on. So again, I use the example of Roger Goodell of the NFL, Adam Silver of the NBA, Peter Volandis of the NRL. They are onto it and they are prominent each week, everything. They are always out and about talking.
But the only people, players are always subject to, their jobs are on the line every week, subject to selection. But coaches, for instance, Eddie's situation last week, if you get a different outcome, he wins the game against Wales. It's a different outcome for him as a coach. if he was a young coach, let's say, or a young guy, just starting out, it's a different outcome for him in terms of pressure and everything this week, but also going into next year. So so decisions are getting made that do affect the livelihood of people, and but nothing ever gets talked about. Eddie's old enough and tough enough to battle it out, but there are plenty of other people out there trying to make headway, and we see people, the electroshocks in France, they just punt people to try and get an outcome, but some of those outcomes they're not genuine outcomes because there's other things at play that could be resolved, should be resolved.
Yeah. All right. So listen, the final question here is from @UJazz, and this is for the coaches. I saw that the Nations Championship for 2026 have been announced. What are your thoughts on the competition, especially for the likes of Fiji and Japan? Is this the level of exposure they can benefit from, or do they need more of a dedicated tour format? For example, Japan touring New Zealand in June for 2 games, one versus the Maori All Blacks and one versus the All Blacks. So, Eddie Jones, first of all, to you, in terms of this Nations Championship, what are your thoughts?
Look, for Japan, we're privileged to be in it. It's a great honour to be in the competition, and it's only going to help us by having regular games against top-tier teams. One of the things that's been consistent from the players, having played, now Australia, Ireland, South Africa and now Wales, is they realise the gap between the domestic league and the really top level of international rugby, and it's really been quite eye-opening for the players, and hopefully they take that now back to their League One season and train at a higher level, understand the importance of preparing at a higher level than they've been used to. So we're lucky. Mate, I'm going to have to go now, so I'll catch you blokes next week.
All right, mate. Thank you very much, Eddie Jones, and good luck to him for this weekend.
We're not talking rugby, we're building it. Rugby Unity.
So, Ewen, McKenzie, your views on this Nations Championship that has been introduced, and it will be contested for the first time in 2026.
Well, I like the look of it. It obviously depends. There's 2 parts to it, so I like the look of it. The concept's good. So, the draw is what it is. So you don't know where teams will be up to next year, but I think it's a really good tournament to have, sort of mid-World Cups, and I think everyone's involved. I'm interested to see how the finals play out, because obviously everyone has a go at each other and across. It's not home and away. It's just it's either away or at home, and that's it. And you've got different conditions in play. So, it's good. Let's give it a run and see how it goes. But I think it's good to see everyone playing each other in, albeit 2 blocks, but playing each other in similar circumstances at the same time of the year is good. It's good.
Yeah, well, I think
forward.
Yeah, but I think this time next year it will be around about now that we have this final weekend where the top 6 teams are competing against each other. I think it's great to see Fiji and Japan in that top tier. And when the teams were published, it struck me to see Japan and Fiji there categorised and ranked and sitting alongside the top tier nations. So I thought that was a good moment. And the other good news about all of this is also that there is a competition for the Nations Cup for the Tier 2 teams, for the other teams that will be the balance of the teams competing at the 2027 World Cup. They will compete against each other. So we'll get to know a lot more about them as well. I think it's a absolutely cracking idea. Congratulations to World Rugby for putting it together, and for all the member unions for getting it happening, because I think in time it will be a real showcase for the game of rugby.
And because everyone's in it, hopefully they can get the marketing and the media side of it all focused on the fact that it's a tournament that involves, basically the teams from around the world. It's not just the end of season tour or something like that, or some sort of mid-season. It's got a genuine it's got the world aspect to it, which I like. And so outside of the World Cup, it's the only other time that happens. So I think it's got a lot of merit there in terms of the marketing and the media side of it. We can really try and get something out of it and try and hopefully it builds through the tournament so it actually is a genuine competition, not just something that's already determined, after the first round. You've got someone who wins every game and sort of is just so far ahead. But there's going to be a final and there's playoffs as well. So I think it's a pretty good concept.
Yeah.
So well done to World Rugby for that. I think I'll give them a pat on the back. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so let's move on. And thank you again, audience, the third voice, for your continued contributions, your comments, your questions. It does strengthen the program, so please keep them coming through. Okay, plenty of rugby this weekend. Wales versus New Zealand. New Zealand have rung in the changes, 13 changes to the side that were defeated by England last weekend. Certainly New Zealand rugby fans are not happy. The coach is under enormous amounts of pressure. The match will be refereed by Holly Davison. Ewen McKenzie, your thoughts about Wales versus New Zealand?
Well, I was looking at the New Zealand team, and it's pretty much a team that I think that Robinson, he fielded that team in a test match, pretty close to that team in a test match earlier in the year. So when you say it's a rotation, it's a team that's got a familiar look. I mean, Williams, the hooker, it's a good forward pack. Scott Barrett, I noticed, has been under fire from New Zealand a bit because people are saying captain and second row, is the best option. So that's an interesting there. Holland, I like Parker. They've been Karifi, Satiti's been there. Radimer, so it's a pretty good side that's played a lot of Test football. All the combatants have. Ruben Love, I like at fullback. So there's a bit there, and a few guys, Sevu Reece and a couple other guys, got opportunities off the bench. So I like the look of the side actually. So it'll be good contrast to what's been going on from the other guys, and hopefully some players can put their hands up and maybe give the coach some options.
I'm sure you think that New Zealand will win the match, but what's the margin?
Well, yeah, I think Wales are dogged, and so they haven't been they've been dogged. They're dogged in the Six Nations. They're difficult to put away. They hang in there and get some points, but I think that they'll probably get there by 10 or 15. I think.
Ireland takes on South Africa. Certainly the big match of the weekend. The South Africans haven't beaten Ireland away since 2012. And in both cases, the teams selected are perhaps their most experienced teams for both South Africa and for Ireland. And Sam Prendergast gets another opportunity at number 10 in a match that will be refereed by Matthew Carley. Ewen McKenzie, your thoughts?
Well, I was going through the team list, and I think it's a bit of a feast, this one. I really like the look. I mean, you go head to head in any position. Sheehan, Marks, Furlong, like Detroit, and you've got they've got an experience there. Ryan Byrne in the second row versus Etzebeth North. I get that. Back row, Doris versus Visa. I like that. The halfbacks, Gibson Park versus Ryanak. That's good. And you got a bit of X factor at 10 from both sides. Prendergast. So I like. Bunyaki is the sort of tradesman there, which is the same as Dalney. So I think and Mack Hansen's the X factor. He played really well last outing at fullback, so hopefully that continues. So it's a really good contest, head to head. And then you've got guys coming off the bench. You've got, they've got Lions coming off the bench. For Ireland have, and then you've got the regulars for South Africa: Quagga, Smith, Snyman, Libok. It's a really good contest. Very hard to call. I think it's hard to call because Ireland found form, against Australia. South Africa's been in good form. They've had a lot of those guys are fresh from last week. That plenty of guys rested. So let's see. I don't know. I don't actually know who will get there. I'm not sure. Okay. You mentioned the record about South Africa against Ireland. So, this is a big game.
And Rassie Erasmus has never won, be it with at Aviva Stadium, whether he was coaching at Munster or coaching with South Africa.
He needs to talk to me. I went to Aviva and beat Ireland. He needs to talk to me. I've got the goods. We got the Wallabies up there. We won well, actually. It was against Joe, actually, too. Look, I think, that's all sort of things around the edges. In the end, I'm just looking, it's head-to-head. We know the tactics. Both teams will be trying to impose their game. And I think that Ireland will have some of the answers for South Africa in the aerial contest. There's a bit of X factor and some industry in the industrial firepower in the forwards. So hard to pick. No, I'll go a draw. There we go.
Go a draw. Okay. All right. Well, it's certainly a game to look forward to. Italy will take on Chile. So Chile have now qualified for the 2027 World Cup, one of the beneficiaries of the progress of the sport in South America, led by Argentina. Yesterday, indeed, I interviewed the president of the Chile Rugby Union, and that will be featured over the Christmas holiday break. A great story, really, of development and progress and thoughtful planning, which has led to them making it through to the 2027 World Cup. But clearly, I would have thought against an Italian team that has been improving, maybe a step up in class the Chile team won't be able to get there this weekend.
Italy will be too good there. I think they're showing some really good characteristics of being a consistently good team. So I'm definitely backing Italy there. But that's great for Chile. Good to see another country up there and duking it out. I'll be interested to see how they go.
It is great to see. Then the next big match, certainly of interest to us as Australian supporters, France versus Australia. The match will be refereed by Luke Pearce. A number of changes to the Australian team. Carter Gordon back at 10. Tupu starts again in front of Alan Alalatoa. Matt Fessler to the bench. Billy Pollard starts the game. Nick Frost returns alongside Williams. Dylan Peach in front of Filippo Dangunu. And probably the unluckiest man in the Australian team, Ryan Lonigan, misses out entirely. Doesn't even get a spot on the bench. And Kalani Thomas from the Queensland Reds will start on the bench. And Tom Hooper to flanker and Rob Valentini to the bench. And for the French, Fabien Galti has picked a very strong side. The Australian, Emmanuel Miafo, will start at lock for the first time against his native-born country. The team will be captained by Gregory Aldrit, and I just can't take my eyes off the French back three of Thomas Ramos, Louis Bielbarré and Damien Penaud. It looks to be a big challenge for the Australians, who again this week have been talking about how tired they are, how mentally exhausted they are, and I think they've actually talked themselves out of a lot of confidence, and I don't give them much of a chance. What are your thoughts, Ewen McKenzie?
Well, the French team, they're going to be good, and they've got a great goal kicker too. So they'll be good. All right, so we know that. The Australian team, I'm looking at it. It's pretty much the best team that they've picked. I mean, when they were winning the big games, this is pretty much the side. There's obviously a couple of changes, but fundamentally it's the core. Pollard, I don't know why Pollard dropped out in the last two tests. I'm not sure why, but he's back, so I like that. Bell obviously took over from Slipper. Tupu, I don't know why he didn't play at all. So he's been out for a couple, I think. Williams and Frost have worked together a lot. They still haven't, they're still avoiding. Well, they're making a decision in the back row. Harry Wilson seems to be errol-eyed in there, so it seems to be between Valentini and Hooper, and as to who gets on the bench. I probably would pick it a different way, but I've said that before. Carter Gordon, Jake Gordon seems to be his favourite. Carter Gordon, yes, no surprise there. Dylan Peach, he's a tradesman, so he'll be good. Ikitau. So the rest of it, Jorgensen, he's going to get, if France have watched the videos, they're going to be giving high balls to Jorgensen from first minute to see what happens, So I'd be disappointed if they didn't. That's just that'd be a standard targeting tactic. They've got a bit to come off the bench with Alatara and Tizano. I like it when he's involved in the match, and they've gone the 5-3 bench. So Kalani Thomas, he's a good player. Lonergan, I don't know what happened there. I suspect that he's the sort of guy that's going to start a game, and maybe he's just not giving him the X factor bench, lighting the game up like McDermott was doing. He might just be the guy he's either going to be a starter or not in the 23. That's what it looks like. That's how they've got him pigeonholed. They gave him a couple of goes, but not very long, a couple of minutes. Pretty hard to change the game in that sense, but I'm thinking that's how they might have summed him up. So, I actually think it's not a bad, pretty good Australian side. I think, for the last hurrah for the season, hopefully they'll get going. They'll cause a few problems there. I don't think there'll be a walkover.
No.
So so I think that they'll give a good account of themselves. They've got some. The scrum will be good. The line out will be organised. They'll certainly put some pressure on the French line out. You got McWright there with McWright. Has been outstanding on tour. Has probably been the best player in terms of the contest. Easily the best player in terms of the contest. And then you've got Tizano to come in. So there's a lot to like about all that.
Very good. All right, the next match, Scotland takes on Tonga. The Scots still recovering from what was a terrible result for them, to be booed from the field, surrendering a 21-0 lead. They take on Tonga at Murrayfield. Referee Luke Ramos. Your thoughts, Ewen McKenzie?
Well, I think Scotland should win this well. Easy to say that without. I haven't got a lineup. I haven't seen the lineups, but they should win that well. I mean, they'll be smarting for sure. Tonga, I don't know without seeing the teams. I'm not sure if you never quite know who they've got. They got their best team available or not. But I think that Scotland will have to show and try and win well. But it's not much. If you win by 30 points or something, what does that show? It doesn't really show a lot. It's really just sort of reinforces the fact that you let the last one go. You got to be an 80-minute team, not a 40-minute team. So, that's just a missed opportunity last week. But you're not going to make it up this week, I don't think. They're just expected to win and win well. They haven't got a choice.
And the final of the major tier matches, England versus Argentina. England, Jamie George, Ollie Lawrence and Tom Roebuck out of the team that beat the All Blacks last week, but plenty of depth in the England squad. They're playing with confidence. They seem to be having a lot of fun. But Argentina, having beaten Wales, then beaten Scotland, and having had a very promising year of development, will be going to HQ with intent. This really does promise a lot, doesn't it? This match between England and Argentina this weekend.
It certainly does. I mean, Argentina just slide through the weeks and they just keep winning and finding ways to win, and they drop the odd game, but they're just there. They're thereabouts all the time. They have a very consistent team, so not to be taken lightly. But England. I'm really liking what Borthwick. I like the way that Borthwick thinks. He's got his core team there, but he's able to rotate. So he's got a bit of Rassie. He's got the capacity of Rassie now to be able to rotate guys in. You bring like Genge was captain 2 weeks ago, played off the bench last week. Now he's back in the side starting. Cowan Dickey's been consistently off the bench, but he's starting through an injury. Now they got this young guy Asher Apuku, who's only 23, I think, and he's a big unit. At tight head, and they've been slipping him into games here and there. I think it's his fourth or fifth. It's his first test at this level, the major level. He's played some test matches, sort of, off the bench and whatever. So I think it's his first start. So then you've got the regulars. The regulars have been using in the back five, and then change it halfback forward again, so you know what the game's going to be like. Daly coming in, so good players. So you miss the likes of Roebuck on that, but they've got good replacements, coming in. So they're in a very fortunate position. And then you've got the bunch of Lions coming off the bench. But you remember Argentina beat the Lions in the first game of their tour. So, I think everyone's going to be talking about Pollock and Marcus Smith and da-da-da. Well, Argentina won't care about that, but they're all to come into the game late. I think it's the challenge is to how to play England in the last 20, 30 minutes, because they just seem to be able to get those tries. They've got a bit of X factor coming in. So it's a matter of how they manage the game in the last period. I think they'll be competitive, but they don't want England to get away from them in the last 20. So that's the game within the game.
But Argentina will have that confidence, I imagine, out of the last couple of weeks. And again, I'm sure, everybody is expecting England will win the match, so they come into it as slight underdogs. But anyway, lots to look forward to. I think Argentina will be quietly confident. They've got a good back line. They've got a great back row, competitive at set piece. So they're going to have to catch the high balls and do things that the forwards are going to throw at them. We saw the drop kicks last week that came back into the game, so that's a bit more old-fashioned, but very effective on the scoreboard. And they got they got the likes of Curry and Pollock and Marcus Smith all to come into the game. Mitchell as well at halfback. It's good. It's a good bench for them. So you got to think England, but I don't think it'll be by much. I think Argentina will just hang in there. We saw against Scotland how good they are in the last 20 minutes of the game themselves. Yeah, I do think that promises to a lot. That is a match that I will certainly be staying up for here on the other side of the world. But more rugby, as HG and Roy, a couple of us famous Australian commentators, used to say, when too much sport is not enough. It's the same here with rugby, because we also have Romania taking on Uruguay, Portugal playing Canada, Spain against Fiji, and Albania will play Greece this weekend. So best of luck to all of those teams. Hong Kong, China playing against Belgium. And indeed, there are more matches. The Rugby Americas North Sevens tournament, where we have Barbados, Bermuda, Canada, Cayman Islands, Guyana, Jamaica, Mexico, and Trinidad and Tobago. In the women's, Barbados, Bermuda, Guyana, Jamaica, Mexico, and Trinidad and Tobago. And in the men's second tier, Bahamas, the British Virgin Islands, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and Grenadines, and Turks and Caicos Islands, and Curacao as well. So plenty of rugby being played at the Larry Gomes Stadium in Arima in Trinidad. Yeah, Larry Gomes.
He's a good cricketer.
No.
The Ashes starting today too, so there's plenty if you're a sports viewer. Hang on, you missed the big game, Pemby.
Rugby, which one? No, I got one more.
The qualification game for the World Cup. We didn't get the score. Happened during the week.
Yeah. And you know what happened? Samoa, Belgium. The score was 13-all.
Oh, there we go.
And Samoa qualified by points on the table. So they were 1 point ahead. And so Belgium, unfortunately for them, weren't able to go through, and Samoa have qualified for that final position for Rugby World Cup 2027. So there you go. And indeed, great things for Belgium rugby ahead. I read an article during the week where they were saying that, their real focus was 2031. But because they've been well supported by the French rugby, there's been lots of development that's taken place, and they've gone forward and they're performing at a level that perhaps they didn't think they were going to. So they may, in fact, qualify through into one of the final places around that Tier 2 Nations Cup next year. And again, as you mentioned before, like Chile, to have more teams playing our great game. And finally, the only other match this weekend will be played in Warsaw in Poland, and it's the Rugby Europe Trophy, Poland versus Czechia. in that match, and there is no Rugby Europe Conference matches on this week. But indeed, a massive weekend of rugby this weekend. But just a bit more news before we go. Player of the Year nominees: Malcolm Marx, Ox Nietzsche, Peter Steph du Toit, and the French flyer, Louis Biel BRE. Ewen McKenzie, you get to pick. Who is your player of the year out of those?
Oh, well, I'm going to go for the Ox, because no one ever votes for the front rowers. So I'll go for the Ox, and then I'll go for Marks after that because another front rower. So I don't know how they choose these things. I mean, they've all been good players, but there seems to be other good players. I know there's other categories, emerging players, things like that. So good luck to the 4 candidates.
Yeah. No,
I'm going for the Ox.
Yeah, I'm going for Louis Biel BRE. I just love watching him play. He's just the red headgear, just an exciting player, and really. But anyway, all worthy nominees and certainly worthy winner amongst them. And so the Breakthrough Player of the Year nominees: Fabian Holland from New Zealand, Ethan Hooker from South Africa, Henry Pollock from England, and Joseph Akusu-Suali'i. I saw on Reddit there was a graphic of minutes played. So Akusu-Suali'i is somewhere up around 770 minutes. Fabian Holland around about 500. I think Ethan Hooker a little bit below that, but then Henry Pollock's down. He's only played around 170 minutes or something like that. So, of those players, who would you give the award of the Breakthrough Player of the Year to?
Well, I don't know the exact description when it says breakthrough. We're just talking about the most exciting. I don't know, but obviously on minutes you're going to give it to Suali. If you out of interest, I'd probably give it to Pollock. He's actually exciting, and I've seen he's exciting to watch, and he's going to put bums on seats. So I think he's probably, from a breakthrough point of view, he's probably what the game needs. You need personalities, and I think he's definitely one of those. Mm.
But the encouraging thing for me is I look at all 4 of those players, and each of them, they're exciting. Fabian Holland, I think it's a great story. A young Dutch boy who went across to Otago, made his way through, had his eyes, and has got through to the All Blacks and is now an important player for them. Ethan Hooker, well, what can't he do? Henry Pollock, excitement machine, and Akusu-Suali'i, has everything. I agree. I mean, Holland, I'm a big fan of his, and I think that the All Blacks do better when he plays. So yes, Hooker, I wish we'd seen more of him. Yeah, like he could have came in mid-season. Wish we'd seen more of him. Because I don't even know the breadth of his abilities. So it's a funny award. I mean, I don't know the subtle sub-definitions of what the criteria is, but they'll probably go on minutes, and it'll go to Suali, and he's obviously got X factor too, but I don't think we've even seen the best of him yet either. Oh, no.
They've all got more to give, I think.
Yeah. No, indeed. So that's that. And just last week, I think, or maybe even the week before, we mentioned about the Scottish Rugby Union financial results and how things are heading in the right direction, which is good news. But during the week, the Irish Rugby Union results have come out. Their income is up by €18.8 million. They've reduced their operating deficit to €4.2 million, and there is some hope that in the not too distant future they will be breaking even. So heading in the right direction, the trend line, Scotland and Ireland, and well done to those unions because, as Brett Robinson said when he took over, the first priority is the financial sustainability of the major unions. So it's good to see that 2 major unions are tracking in the right direction, but there is still so much ahead of us, and I think something like the Nations Cup next year is really going to activate another level of interest. So, Ewen McKenzie, lots to look forward to this weekend, and thank you very much for joining us once again. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thanks to you as well. And please, if you would, like, subscribe, share, any type of engagement, whether it be through YouTube or Spotify, Apple, whatever podcasts you listen to, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. However you like to engage with us, please reach out to us with your comments, because your voice certainly is crucial in shaping the future prosperity of rugby union around the world. So please keep your comments and suggestions coming. We do have a Substack, and if you jump across to have a look at Tony Charge's suggestion there from Game Changers about what the game might need to do, and give us your comments about that. But there is also other additional exclusive content, behind the scenes insights, and it is ad-free. And you can access that via the QR code which is on your screen, or you can click the link in the show notes. So there we go for another week. Thank you for coming back. Until next week, please be kind to each other. My name is David Pembroke, and it's bye for now.